I'd like to call to order the August 13th, 2024 regular board meeting. This time I'd like to announce that meetings in the Mechanicsburg Area School District Board of Directors are being recorded and live streamed for the purpose of transparency and increased public access. The live stream, along with the recordings from previously held meetings, can be found on the school board YouTube channel. This time, if all would like to rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll have a brief moment of silent meditation. On to roll call. Mr. Longwell.
Mr. Bradley.
Here.
Mr. Frangel.
Here.
Mrs. Huff.
Here.
Mr. Kickline.
Here.
Dr. Lebo.
Here.
Ms. Morgan.
Here.
Dr. Rhodes. Mr. Sanker.
Here.
And Mr. Rupp.
Here. Endorsement of agenda. Any changes to tonight's agenda, Mr. Longwell?
There are no changes to the individual agenda items. It will otherwise stand as read.
Reading of the minutes of the regular board meeting of June 11th, 2024. Do any board members see any corrections or alterations needed in the minutes? It will be accepted as printed. Item 2, hearing of visitors. There will be 2 opportunities for public comment this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents and taxpayers of the school district. At this time, we have reached the first opportunity for public comment. This opportunity is reserved for comments related to items that are listed on the evening's agenda for a vote. A second opportunity for public comment will occur at the end of the meeting. The second opportunity for public comment is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please come up to the podium and share your name and the municipality in which you reside. This is for items that are on the agenda being voted on tonight. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, reports and presentations. Item 3.01, Superintendent of Schools report, Dr. Bitts.
Thank you, Mr. Rupp. Appreciate it. Really just 2 updates for you here as we get rolling with the school year in the next couple of weeks. The first one would be an update about something that just happened last week. We had the opportunity from Ms. Cheryl DeLozier's office to host the Pennsylvania Republican House Policy Committee, which officially every House Republican representative is a part of the committee. There's about 10 or 12 that typically attend those meetings, and they basically travel the state to talk about all kinds of different policies and all kinds of different issues. They were doing a 3-session series on back-to-school items, and they asked if they could come here under the auspices of being able to be in Representative DeLozier's district, the 88th district, and being able to hear from some successful school districts here in central Pennsylvania that were doing some things right, is how Representative DeLozier talked about it. So we had the opportunity to be able to share. It was myself, Dr. Lighty representing in his new capacity with Pennsylvania IUs. We had a teacher from Cedar Cliff, and we also had a board member from Cumberland Valley. It was Mike Gossert, who's also the president of PSBA. So the 4 of us had an opportunity to be able to share some testimony and then answer some questions from the representatives that were both there and some that were on Zoom as well. Really a neat opportunity to be able to not only share some of the great things happening here in our district, but also be able to share some of the challenges we face and encourage them with some different policy issues that we know that they have some jurisdiction over. I'll just summarize some of my comments. I really focused on our increasing enrollment, the increasing diversity that we have experienced through that increase in enrollment, and then really how we've brought our programmatic vision to life over the last several years. Overall, they had a number of questions, and we talked a good bit about fair funding. We talked a bit about cyber charter schools, about accountability, and some of the certification challenges that we face as a district. So you can still go on and watch or read the testimony if you'd like, but it was definitely a neat opportunity. I know some were there or have watched since, so certainly if you have comments, you're welcome to chime in.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to be there, and I thought you and Dr. Lighty particularly did a great job, and it's great to hear you guys articulate what you're looking for from the state. And I think a lot of it was things that we talked about, so I felt like it wasn't completely new information to me. And yeah, I was just once again proud to be a part of the district, and was glad to be able to be there. So you did a great job.
I agree. I was going to say it's great at 1.5 speed if you want to watch it playback. So
very good. So we had that opportunity, and then of course the most important opportunity is here over the next 2 weeks, and that is welcoming our staff back next Monday, and then ultimately our students back the Monday to come. So as a reminder, we start with 4 days on, and then 4 days off for the Labor Day weekend, and then 4 days back before we start our 5-day weeks. The primary level still does their staggered start for the first 2 days, so half of our students the first day, the other half the second, and then everyone from there on out. I will share staffing-wise, I would say we are in better shape overall than what we have been the last several years. We have some openings still that we need to be able to fill, but overall we are in very good shape to start. The high school project, of course, continues chugging along. We've been through this a few times now, and we know that 2 weeks out is a lot of time to make a lot of progress, and we are still in pretty good shape to have the areas that need to be done to start school, those ready to go. And obviously, we know that the project is not meant to be finished here in August, but we're still on track for the end of the calendar year for substantial completion. That's my report.
You said that we're still short of filling positions. Are we short on any teaching positions?
A few, yep. I think we were about a half dozen total, which again is better shape than what we've been the last several years. Some of those will need to be filled day one, and some of those will be able to work through for a little bit more time. Some of those also are some individuals that have been hired but are being helped by their other districts. So we know that it's somewhat coming, but we have to wait a few weeks.
Any other questions for Dr. Betts? Thank you for a fine report. Item 3.02, Mr. Bradley.
There was more of a procedural meeting for the IU in July. It was first readings of some motions that were put into place that would require a couple of different readings and some staffing things, but it was all done virtually. There was no formal meeting held. The next meeting of the IU is scheduled for August 22nd.
Any questions for Mr. Bradley? Thank you for the report. Item 3.03, Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center report, Mr. Sanger.
thank you. The CTC has had a busy past 2 months for us. Typically, this take off in the summer after the June meeting. At our June 24th meeting, the CTC voted to reject all the bids that came in related to the construction project, as the bids had come in above what the scope of the project was. So we tasked Crabtree with going back to the drawing board with a redesign. And they took a number of suggestions from the project bidders on how to better value engineer the project. There's a period there where you can engage with the bidders, and they can give you a list of things that they would improve on, even if you ultimately reject the bid. You can still talk to them about it. So a lot of good things came out of that. I've been in several subsequent meetings with the architect, the engineer, and the administration. I think we're moving to a better design. Importantly, cost-wise, I think we're in much better shape than we were. We plan to go back out to bid in the fall. One of the suggestions from the contractors dealt with phasing, and actually shortening up the project by getting rid of some phasing. So I think even with this like rebid process, we should still be able to stick within the overall timeline and have this new wing available on opening day of 2026. So more to come there. Following that meeting, Mr. Brune, the CTC Administrative Director, resigned, took a position as a building principal at one of Lancaster CTC's campuses. I think I sent an email to everybody about that, but just to, for the record, he was with the CTC for 17 years and 12 as the Administrative Director. I'm always happy to see someone, continue to chart their own course and move through, go where they want to go, but it's still challenge losing someone with that sort of institutional knowledge and just knowledge within our community. So from the end of June onward, we ended up holding a special meeting to accept his resignation, approve a search process with the capital area IU at no cost to us, approve a new job description, and then delegate to our personnel committee the responsibility to review candidates. We also hired an interim administrative director, Mr. Rick Musselman, who had been a superintendent at Midwest School District up in Snyder County most recently. Great guy. I hope he'll be able to, bridge this gap between Justin's exit and, you assume whoever we hire might be held some period of time. This sort of leads to why we employed him. I got to learn a lot about how other CTCs function. That was really interesting. Didn't, some have sports programs, some are full days, some are just for seniors. So that was an interesting part of the interview process. We're in the offer phase of the process, which was also good, but more to come there. So anyway, we hope to have a successful candidate at our next JOC meeting, which is on Monday the 26th, August 26th. That's and students start next week at the VOTEC, so that's also exciting to them. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Sanker? Thank you for the report, Mr. Sanker. Move on to 3.04, Wildcat Foundation report. Mrs. Huff.
We had our annual retreat on August 2nd at the environmental site, and at that time 4 of our members had completed their service, and those were Megan Brown, Dan DeLong, Michelle Dugan, and Nathan McWilliams, and thank them for their service. We also added 4 new members. That's 4 go, you need 4 more. And that was Donald Despinas, I'm not sure how to say this, thank you. Dave Gongora, Jeff Green, and Elizabeth Shearer. And throughout the retreat, we reviewed the history of the foundation and all of its accomplishments. It's always good to go back and revisit what you've done and look ahead before you start to look ahead. Looking ahead, we discussed adding a potential fundraiser. We currently have 2 big fundraisers, Wildcat Foundation Night and the golf tournament. A fun fact related to our potential idea for another fundraiser would be some challenge that might be presented to Dr. Bitts. He's already said that shaving his head is not one of the options, but we thought that whatever the fundraiser is, it might conclude with something that we could challenge Dr. Bitts with. We were all on board with that one.
I'm open to ideas.
Yes, that's what he said. No shaving the head.
It's difficult enough for me not to address him as Dr. White.
Right, without the hair.
That would make it almost impossible.
I understand. We have our golf tournament this Friday, and that tournament is sold out. It was sold out shortly after it was put out there. But there's always an opportunity for anybody that would want to be a sponsor. You can always provide sponsorship money right up to the beginning or even afterwards. And if you're not able to attend the golf tournament, we are going to have a silent auction online, and that begins on Thursday, August 15th. And that includes some things like 2 Penn State football whiteout game tickets, a MASH football helmet, 4 Hershey Park tickets, Hershey Bears tickets, hockey tickets for Penn State, Senators package, all kinds of goodies. So please look for that. It will be on the Wildcat Foundation website. You'll be able to get a link to that there. So, that's my report.
I do have a question. With the 2 largest fundraisers being sold out most of the time,
Yeah.
within weeks, is there any discussion about looking for larger venues
Well,
to have them?
All the time. And part of the challenge is we like to try and stay in Mechanicsburg, and it's difficult to find venues in Mechanicsburg that will suit more people, honestly. The golf tournament, I guess there are, and I'm not an expert on golf tournaments, but I guess there are options where you can sometimes do a morning and an afternoon round
Yeah.
or something.
Depending on the
So
course.
that, yeah, I'm not sure how that works, but that was something that was discussed too. And it's always the question with Wildcat Foundation Night, you know, do you want to have it be really large, or are you still like kind of keeping it to a size that everybody can still mingle and interact? So we talk more about raising the price.
Well, that's also a factor. It just seems to be like post-COVID is these things are selling out. Like,
They are.
within a week or two.
They are,
you
it
know, when
doesn't take
the
long.
stuff becomes available.
And we appreciate the support from the community and
Absolutely.
everybody else.
Any other questions for Mrs. Huff, the Wildcat Foundation? Thank you for the report. PSBA legislative report that was already covered in the superintendent's report of the legislative meeting that we had held here. I have nothing else to report at this time. Item 3.06, Finance Facilities Committee report, Mr. Sanger.
The committee has been on summer break. My report.
And 3.07, Board President report, announcement of an executive session held prior to this evening's meeting at 6 p.m. to discuss student safety, personnel, and legal matters. I have nothing else at this time. Move on to item 5, new business policy. Item 5.01, Mr. Frangel.
Yes, I move to approve the appointment of Mrs. Jennifer Swigert and Mrs. Chris Haldeman as Assistant Board Secretary.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Discussion? You can go ahead.
Sorry.
She was ready to jump in her first time.
I think I was.
Unless I
Bradley,
hear,
I apologize.
unless I hear a name.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you for stepping up to this role as with the promotion of Mr. Longwell from assistant to superintendent to assistant superintendent. The school code no longer allowed him to serve as our board secretary, and you both have stepped up, and we appreciate that immensely. So,
Thank you.
any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 5.02, Mr. Frangel.
Yes, so I move to adopt the agreement and waiver of hearing before the Board of Directors between parent, student, and the board, and the terms and conditions set forth therein. Direct the superintendent to place said agreement in students' education records. Authorize the superintendent to act on behalf of the board in implementing the agreement, and order the expulsion of the following students. Student A of 2024-2025, beginning August 26, 2024, for 1 calendar year. Student B of 2024-2025, beginning August 29th, 2024, for 1 calendar year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6, new business, athletics, recreation. Item 6.01, Dr. Lebo.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the summer and fall recreation staff for 2024-2025.
With a second.
Second?
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
I abstain.
Item 6.02, Dr. Lebo.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the spring coach appointments and the athletic game help for the 2024-2025 year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 7, new business, budget and finance. Item 7.01, Ms. Morgan.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the treasurer's report as per the attachments, which include the following. Number 1 is the treasurer's report for July 2024. 2 is the board budget report, July 2024. Number 3 is the general fund invoices paid 6/12/2024 through 6/30/2024. Check numbers 68661 through 68828 in the amount of $909,143.90. Number 4 is the general fund invoices paid 7/1/2024 through 8/12/2024. Check numbers 68829 through 69018 in the amount of $3,756,927.76. Number 5 is electronic payments in the amount of $3,714,021.18. Number 6 is the general fund invoices payable, check number 69019 through 69034 in the amount of $196,527.91. Number 7 is the capital reserve fund invoices paid 6/12/2024 through 6/30/2024. Check numbers 1911 through 1912 in the amount of $3,559.30. Number 8, capital reserve fund invoices paid 6/1/2024 through 8/12/2024. Check numbers 1913 through 1916 in the amount of $39,633.81. Number 9 is the series of 2023 construction fund invoices paid 6/12 through 2024 through 6/30/2024. Checks number 224 through 233 in the amount of $1,194,324.71. Number 10 is the series of 2023 construction fund invoices paid 6/1/2024 through 8/12/2024. Check number 234 through 263 in the amount of $5,288,110.92. Number 11, SAF and TF quarterly board report for March through June 2024. And lastly, number 12, investment portfolio.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, could you reread number 9? I think the dollar amount, you read it incorrectly.
You think so?
You said 1,194,000. Thank you.
Number 9, series of 2023 construction fund invoices paid 6/12/2024 through 6/30/2024. Checks number 224 through 233 in the amount of $1,184,324.71.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Mrs. Swiger.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 7.02, Ms. Morgan.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the transportation service contracts as presented in the attachment.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swiger.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 7.03, Mr. Kickline.
I ask the board to approve the tax policies report as presented in the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swiger.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 8, new business curriculum. Item 8.01, Mrs. Huff.
I ask the board to approve the student services contracts as presented in the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further comment?
I have a question. Just is this the first time we've used the substitute teacher services?
So we've used them in the, no?
Yes, this is our second year.
Right.
Utilizing this. We've made a commitment to the board that we will only use them in last resort.
As a supplementary, last resort.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mrs. Swiger.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 9, new business facilities. Item 9.01, Mr. Sanger.
I make a motion to approve the certificate and related documents for the termination of the Cumberland Perry Vocational Technical School Authority.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
It's just a dormant authority that was put in place to construct the building 53 years ago, and it's outlived its useful life. So by terminating it, well, we had like two choices: either revive it, which involves paying an auditor and having a separate board than the CTC board, or terminating it. And there are other funding mechanisms. So when we go out for the bond issue for the schools who chose to go through a bond issue for the construction project, there is a state level authority called the State Public School Building Authority that we will use as the mechanism for that. So this just cleans that up. And I think Mr. Longlaw and I were talking about how we did a couple years ago, there was a North Side authority or a Mechanicsburg authority that we had to do a similar deed transfer to actually own North Side. So these were the way you did it in the 60s, but not how you do it now. There you go. That's what I got.
And does this take unanimous vote of all the member districts or a majority, or is it not going to be an issue?
It shouldn't be an issue. I think there's only 11 that like formed it. I think we added Upper Adams later and somebody else Northern maybe. So not everybody was in, but
everybody understands there's no reason to have it.
Yeah.
It's actually a detriment for issuing bonds. And things like that.
yeah, it's just it like this is like doing Plan Con A dry. Like you gotta clean it up, but we have to get rid of it somehow. Either way.
Right. Any other questions or discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 10, excuse me, new business, personnel, item 10.01, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the personnel report as per the attachments.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further,
I abstain.
any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Abstain.
Item 10.02, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the teacher leaders for the 2024-2025 school year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 10.03, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the school safety officers for the 2024-2025 school year as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
10.04, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the extra duty advisors for the 2024-2025 school year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10.05, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the athletic retiree service contracts for the 2024-2025 school year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 10.06, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to appoint Dr. Andrew Bitts to the position of superintendent effective August 14th, 2024 through June 30th, 2029.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Comments? Congratulations, Mr. Bitts.
Thank you.
Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 12, hearing of visitors. We have reached the second opportunity for public comment. This opportunity is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents and taxpayers of the school district. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please step up to the podium and share your name and the municipality in which you reside. This is for items that were not on the agenda and were not voted on tonight.
This is like a soft start board meeting for you, you know? Just like our elementary students, I think that's a great example. to start the year.
We'll work on that for the September one, right?
Yeah.
And with that, item 13, Ms. Morgan,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
do we have a second?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.
Wow.